Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Big letdown for Colstrip power plant proponents as the Save Colstrip bill falls in the Montana House today.
Just one day after it passed a preliminary vote, lawmakers vote down Senate Bill 331, 37-60.
That bill aimed at encouraging Northwestern Energy to buy a larger interest in the Colstrip 4 power plant can now, it appears, only move forward in pieces. Today,
25 representatives who had supported the bill yesterday voted no. The bill originally guaranteed Northwestern could charge customers up to $75 million over 10 years for new expenditures at the Colstrip plant. But that portion was amended to give the State Public Service Commission more oversight.
Bill proponent, Republican Senator Dwayne Ankney of Colstrip, says he feels the bill was rejected for political reasons, not on its merits. But he says even tonight he's working to keep parts of that bill alive by working them into another bill.
You know, there's nothing to say that this can't be done other ways. But I think that one way or the other, we're going to try to keep those megawatts in the hands of a regulated utility in order to keep it available to Montanans when they need them. We still need the megawatts. We don't have enough when the demand is there.
The Northern Plains Resource Council celebrating the fall of the bill, saying the bill was, quote, crafted to remove public oversight and subsidize Northwestern Energy by shifting the company's costs and burdens onto Montana families, small businesses, and other electricity consumers. Ankney told us he's hopeful parts of the bill could move forward as early as this Thursday.
Tonight, Governor Steve Bullock has signed a legislative bill to continue the work of Montana's Sexual Assault Task Force. Attorney General Tim Fox tweeted out this photo of Bullock signing Senate Bill 52, which would continue the work of that task force. Fox launched the task force in 2015 after the U.S. Department of Justice harshly criticized the way Montana was handling sexual assaults. Also at that time, agencies across the nation saw a growing concern over unsubmitted rape kits. This bill would add tracking to rape kits, require law enforcement to retrieve the kit from a medical facility within 5 days of evidence collection, and submit the kit to a crime lab for testing within 30 days.
A bill to crack down further on drunken driving in Montana sparked a political furor last weekend when it was stuffed into another bill in committee in a last-ditch attempt to get it passed. Now, however, the bill is dead. MTN's Mike Dennison tells us how and why.
The bill sponsored by Republican Senator Keith Regier of Kalispell had been tabled by a House committee last Friday. But it briefly came back to life last Saturday as a Senate committee voted without a hearing to insert most of the DUI bill's contents into a different bill in hopes that bill could pass. But Regier told MTN News Tuesday that he decided to pull the measure in the wake of objections over the Saturday process. That means the proposal is dead for this legislature. The original bill had been developed by the Office of Republican Attorney General Tim Fox.
Senate Bill 65 included a number of important DUI reform provisions that were designed to address the fact that Montana, unfortunately, is a state that leads the nation in the number of DUI deaths and DUI-related deaths and DUIs in general per capita.
Those changes included allowing blood draws of first-time DUI suspects so they could be more assured of conviction and sent to treatment programs, higher fines for serial DUI offenders, and getting rid of laws that made it easier for people to drop DUI offenses from their record. Regier said Tuesday he's disappointed the bill ended up dying, but Fox said he and Regier have managed to pass other reforms in recent years, and Fox said he won't stop working on the issue.
My parting act as Attorney General in next year will be to propose agency bills which will have to be transmitted to the legislature before the end of the year. And a DUI bill, I can guarantee you, be one of those bills.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And Mike tells us the amended bill missed a transmittal deadline today and cannot be revived without a supermajority vote.
A bill to extend Medicaid expansion passes a final vote in the Senate. It now heads back to the House. That bill would provide medical coverage for 96,000 lower-income Montanans. Two Republicans who voted against the bill supported it today. The bill now goes back to the House, as we said. Medicaid expansion set to expire in June unless the legislature reauthorizes it.
Well, today, students and teachers impacted by outdated educational tools rallied in downtown Billings. Their message very clear, that a yes vote for a high school mill levy is much needed. It's been 12 years since Billings voters have passed a high school mill levy. The $971,000 levy would allow the district to purchase new textbooks, instructional materials, and fund 4 additional career counselors to help students develop career pathways. Now, the students and teachers speaking today about the textbooks, even science labs, being very dated and falling apart. Some of those textbooks dating back to 2003.
It's so weird. It's like my government book says our most recent president was George Bush.
I was talking with one of the teachers earlier today when I was collecting a few to bring here, and she was saying a bunch of her students have to constantly Google stuff. They had to look up when Rosa Parks died, since that wasn't in the textbook. She died in 2005, so that tells you how old a bunch of these are.
Important for us to be able, when we want to move on, when we want to go to college or into work, that we have we're prepared with information that will be able to compete with other students in the state of Montana, in the United States.
Now, the rally wrapped up with an announcement that Forward Montana will hold a day of action on Saturday, April 27th.
Billings man now faces federal charges for using 2 Billings massage parlors as fronts for prostitution.
This after a year-long investigation. Q2 Samantha Sullivan following this story and joins us now with details. Sammy.
Russ and Jeanelle, Scott Petrie now facing federal charges after authorities say he was part of a conspiracy to encourage others to travel from outside the state of Montana into Billings for commercial sex. Court documents state Petrie and others who were not named in those filings used King Spa and A Spa in Billings as a front for prostitution. They used the money made to pay others involved in that conspiracy aimed at bringing women in from out of state to provide sex for money. Documents show multiple occasions in which Petrie set up transportation for women to come into Billings. Petrie is charged with 4 counts related to this prostitution ring, including conspiracy, coercion, and enticement, and transportation of a person with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. He faces up to 35 years in prison. Russ and Jeanelle.
All right, thanks so much, Sammy.
Well, the Montana Highway Patrol trooper shot in the neck, face, and head last month is showing slight improvements in a Utah hospital.
A press release states Trooper Wade Palmer shows indications he recognizes certain people and things. However, all of his interactions remain nonverbal. Palmer uses both hand gestures and facial expressions, but the extent of how much he understands is unknown. Palmer is doing physical therapy to help strengthen his left arm and leg. Only limited movement has been detected on his entire right side. Wiring and screws from his reconstructive jaw surgery should be removed later this week. You'll remember Trooper Palmer was ambushed after he located a shooting suspect who'd killed one and injured 2 others in Missoula back on March 15th. Well, turning to weather, Bob, one good thing about snowstorms is that snowflakes don't tend to break your windows. Hailstorms, a much different story.
Well, we're starting to get into that time of year. We're starting to see more thunderstorms, and we thought we'd remind everybody just a different kind of hailstones that we get. There are several sizes that we see, and let me just kind of show you a little bit about them. They range anywhere from like pea size, that's 1/4-inch sail, all the way up to maybe grapefruit size. Now, here's the thing that we want to remind you. The severe stuff actually starts at a quarter, 25-cent piece. Anything beyond that becomes a severe thunderstorm. Anything less than that probably is not going to break your windshield, but it might dent your car a little bit or something like that. So these are basically the sizes that we talk about when we're going to talk about hailstones. And let me show you just there as far as common. The first 2 or 3 are very common and really not uncommon. But other places that are kind of rare is golf ball size, the tennis ball size, all the way up towards grapefruit size. That's extremely rare. But once in a while, I think here in the Billings area, we see mostly about a 25-cent piece, maybe sometimes up to maybe a golf ball size. That's our forecast. We'll have more in your thunderstorm-free forecast in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob.
Plowing work has begun on the Beartooth Highway.
The famous roadway connecting Red Lodge to Cook City and Yellowstone National Park closes each year due to excessive snow and winter conditions. Montana Department of Transportation crews have started to clear the highway this season and will typically meet snow drifts up to 26 feet high. Yeah, the highway is set to open by the Friday of Memorial Day weekend each year, but as we all know, Mother Nature makes sure that date is more or less a moving target. Yes, it is. Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, the mourning continues for the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Next, we hear from Montanans feeling that impact.
Plus, hunters and anglers are killing raptors without ever seeing them. Find out how.
And later in sports, Rockies' Bruce Parker is inducted to his biggest Hall of Fame yet. Scott fills us in.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.